What's good, people? Welcome back to Pros Only Sports and another episode of United State of Mind. You're here with myself, Roland. Now, the title of this video is called We Need to Move Forward. Now, the reason why I'm saying we need to move forward is not necessarily directly related to the 7-0 defeat against Liverpool that United suffered on Sunday, but more in terms of the way we approach some of these big games against our top six rivals or even rivals across the board, and how we approach those games, because we seem to like revert to type whenever we get into those kind of games, especially when the players may seem physically fatigued or mentally fatigued in terms of not knowing how to navigate through the game. And it might be in keeping with, they have a bit of a muscle memory when they go into these types of fixtures and whatnot. But look, we're gonna break it down in real detail right now. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you're new, hit the notification bell, share this out with your friends and family, hit the socials down below and all of that stuff. Let's get into the video. Now, I'm gonna touch briefly on the Liverpool defeat. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail because tons of people have already done it already. You've probably heard the discourse. There's some people that have, blown it way out of proportion, in my opinion. Others that have taken a bit more of a logical approach, which I'm going to provide you with. And, it is what it is. We'll leave that to the side. Now, I understand that people didn't like the defeat because of the manner of the way it happened. The fact that we conceded 6 goals in the second half, and the way we conceded those goals, complete mishaps in terms of the way we were defending, just constant single mistakes from individual players and whatnot, and whatnot, and coupled with the fact that maybe the team selection was wrong and the game management from the manager was also incorrect as well. Because once you hit 4-0, it's time to shut up shop for real. Just try and shut up shop and do what you need to do, but he didn't do that. So, it is what it is. I mean, yes, and I understand that, it's our worst defeat in 92 years. It's our worst defeat in the Premier League era. I'm 30 years old. The Premier League is 31 this year. I've never seen United. So what I'm saying? And I've probably watched, out of the 31 years, I've probably watched 24, 25 years, let's say, of the Premier League, properly. I've never seen United get battered in that manner before. Is it a cause for concern? Those kind of big games where you're expecting a fight back in some capacity, especially when you look at the first half, just watching it back, there was chances. Like, we had some really good chances. We played a lot better than what maybe you would have expected at the end of the game when you see the scoreline in that first half. But we didn't put the ball away. We got in behind a few times and we just weren't able to be clinical and finishing. This is in keeping with what I'm talking about with the style of play in these types of games. If you're going to play in that type of style, you have to be efficient. You have to be clinical, because you're not going to get many chances to be able to do that in the games. But, I mean, it's very damning when you lose in that manner. And then also when you look at the statistics, it's like we've only scored 1 goal at Anfield in the last 7 years. And come on, that's our biggest rival. Forget Man City. That is a rivalry that has only just occurred in the last 12 years, really and truly. Let's be honest. Liverpool has been a constant thing from the beginning of time, basically. And the fact that in the last 7 years, we've not really performed at Anfield is crazy to me, But then let's look at the game in itself. I mean, I believe it starts from the manager. He got his team selection wrong. He should have started with Wan-Bissaka. Now, there's a big debate between Wan-Bissaka, Dalot, who should start at right back. I feel like since the restart of the Premier League, yes, I know Dalot was injured for the first part of it, but Wan-Bissaka has been a constant source of let's say good news, or he's played well in that period of time. He's been able to battle back from basically being out of the rotation, the first team picture, and basically surplus to requirements to be able to get himself back in. And then I think off of the back of that I would say it's a near man of the match performance in the League Cup final, where Casemiro obviously edges it because he gets the goal and he played so well in the game. But to come on in the half and shut down Newcastle's main threat in Alex and Maximan, who was going to be able to cause some problems to us, to shut him down, he deserves to start in this game against Liverpool, especially with the fact that there's going to be a threat on that left-hand side. Gakpo and Nunez constantly switching between each other to be able to go at him. to go at the fullback, the right fullback. And with the way that Wan-Bissaka plays 1v1, you really shouldn't. There won't be an issue. He'll be able to defend that threat. I think Sabitzer should have started in midfield instead of Fred. The reason why I say that is because Sabitzer left Bayern Munich simply because he wasn't getting game time there. So why is he sitting on the bench right now? Like, I feel like somebody like Sabitzer who has the work ethic, the technical quality to be able to withstand the fixture like that. Of course, he may not understand the importance of the fixture, but he plays with a certain level of intensity that would actually help us in that kind of fixture. And obviously, one that's eager to potentially make it a permanent move for himself. He hasn't been given a lot of opportunities to really start from the beginning, and that was a game that you could have thrown him in there, and I think he would have relished the challenge of getting stuck in that midfield area where Liverpool are going to be very highly pressing you, and you're going to be battling for the ball. We need to get to the first ball and the second ball, and he's going to be capable of doing that. And then especially when we're trying to move forward with the attack and transition going forward, he's going to be able to play those key passes. I think Ten Hag lacked in that area and didn't do that. And I feel like another situation that I feel like, another selection that he got wrong was starting Weghorst up front. I think with the way Liverpool play and the high press, and that means that their back four is now 10 yards up. There's space to exploit in behind, especially with the fullbacks bombing forward in Trent and Robertson. Rashford should have started up front, and then you play on the left hand side either Garnacho or Sancho, and then let things develop from there. And if things need to change, then things need to change. But the fact that Ten Hag didn't learn from his mistake against Barcelona in that first half, in the second leg, where Weghorst started up front, he hooked him at half time and then put Rashford up top and then brought on Anthony to maybe switch it all around a little bit. He didn't do that in this game where there was space to exploit in behind Liverpool. You saw that in points during the first half when Rashford got in behind and stuff like that. When Anthony was in behind, Bruno was in behind. There was an opportunity there that he missed, and he should have learnt from that first half and second leg in the game against Barcelona. And ultimately, it didn't happen. Now, then you move into the game and you can see certain things and patterns were developing. I feel like I saw a little knock to Casemiro early on into the game, and it was affecting him throughout the game. Maybe there should have been a bit more communication from between him and the bench, and what happened at half time in order to say, okay, we've got to take you off and bring on Sabitzer anyway or something, because he looked a little bit off the pace. The players gave up a bit too easily, in my opinion. I feel like, come on, it's the biggest game of the season for the supporters. It should be for you. So, you're going 2-0 down. You have the ability to come back. You've done that several times throughout the season. No matter how on top Liverpool are, all you need to do is be able to, stem the flow, keep the ball a little bit. And I'll get onto that later because I don't think we're well equipped to be able to do that. So you can relieve the pressure and then try and build from there. And that obviously didn't happen. Obviously, fatigue has to play a part in the reason why that happened. The defeat happened the way it happened, because we played 8 games in February. That's a lot of games. Like, I'm not even trying to use it as an excuse. It's a lot of fixtures to play, literally back to back, right? And you forget it's not just the physical side; it's the mental side as well. The fact that you had to come back from in the Barcelona game after going 1-0 down, knowing that literally a few days later you have a cup final that you have to win. There's so much pressure on you because this is your first opportunity at a trophy in 6 years, and if you don't win it, the backlash surrounding that will be immense. So you've got one eye on that, plus having to play that fixture to make sure you can continue in the competition that you're one of the favorites to win as well. So, I mean, you could ask fatigue. You could say fatigue is part of the reason why that defeat happened. I mean, no excuses. That was a bad defeat. However, I'm not going to overreact, because at the end of the day, that defeat at the end of the season, I'm pretty sure I can say that it will be an anomaly out of the whole season. Up until this point, we've done really well. We've got our first trophy, the first trophy that was available. there's still two more trophies up for grabs: the Europa League and the FA Cup. I feel like we can go really, really far in both of those competitions, potentially win one or both, and end the season with two trophies, and we move on. I'm not really worried about what's happened here. We already know that Ten Hag is a bit of a disciplinarian, so I saw the reports on yesterday saying that the players were in at 9 o'clock. There was none, because this has happened in previous years where we have a big defeat like this, the players get the day off on a Monday. No, you're in on the Monday, 9 o'clock sharp. The manager was in there from 7 o'clock, so you already know that there's going to be a problem. There's obviously going to be some video analysis about who made the mistakes and where, and how we're going to rectify it in the next game. And the fact of the matter is, as a player, you're always going to want to get the next game underway. Like you would play 90 minutes literally after the 90 minutes you play. So the fact that they got the game on Thursday against Betis, that first leg in the Europa League, last 16, there's an opportunity there to go and put things right. And, I think for us as fans, I wouldn't be too worried personally. I feel like we're going to come out of the season with at least another trophy under the bag, in the bag, and we can move forward. It's just the manner of the defeat may hurt, and I understand if it hurts you. Me personally, no, not so much, because I don't really look at football in an emotional standpoint anymore. I'm not 13 years old. Like, I'm 30 years old, so I analyze everything I can. So I look at that as a bit of a, some people have said blip. I wouldn't say blip necessarily. I would say it's an anomaly, because I'm pretty confident that at the end of the season, that is something that Liverpool fans can hold up as their trophy at the end of the season, because they're going to probably end the season trophyless, whereas we will be able to hold 2 trophies or 3 trophies. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really too worried about that. The thing that annoys me, though, whenever we have a negative result like this, is people are very quick to throw the ownership as the reason why we lost that game. And I don't necessarily think that's true, because last week we were all celebrating a Carabao Cup win, and it's all Ten Hag. Ten Hag did this, that, and the other, but the owners were the one that gave the money, freed up the money for him to bring in the players that he needed to bring in and whatnot. So, like, there's a very weird debate. Like, nobody was there at Wembley with green and gold scarves. So why is it, because we've left 7-0 to Liverpool, you want to say it's the owners? It's not the owners. There's a way of handling that on the pitch without any talk about owners. The fact of the matter is, the players and the manager coupled together, they did not do us justice as supporters. But to throw the ownership in there as a problem for why we lost that game, come on, it's lazy. It's very lazy. Like, you're just trying to pull things out of thin air now at this point, and that's not right. What should have happened was, we should have been able to, at least, if we were going to lose that game, lose in a manner that you could accept, you could stomach. 7-0 is just too much. You know what I'm saying? So we'll leave that to the side. I mean, the real reason why I've called this video "We Need to Move Forward" is because we actually do need to move forward from this kind of traditional, I said traditional. It is traditional, because that's what people think in their minds. But transitional and counter-attacking style of play that we tend to revert to whenever we get into these kind of big games against some of our rivals. Now, the problem is that it kind of is in keeping with, the style of play that Fergie used to implement in certain games in his regime. And then, it's Fergie's style, but we've kind of plastered it as the United way, where, it's fast, free flowing kind of football with no structure. It's just we got to get to goal as quickly as possible and score as many as we can, especially in these big games. Not necessarily against some of the smaller teams, but against the Chelseas, the Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals. You know what I mean? And for me, we have to move forward from that. We have to move forward from that and actually, move to a more possession-oriented style of play. Like, my issue with that is, you look at Gary Neville's comments. His comments can really influence the majority of the fan base, who are still holding on to this whole, like, we need to play like how it was under Fergie. It's the United way. His comments, because he's such a big voice within football in this country. He is a big voice. He's on one of the biggest stations in the UK. Like, the fact that he can say this, sit down on a podcast style piece of content and say, I don't really want us to change away from, being a very fast, free-flowing, counter-attacking, transitional type of side into a more possession-based side. It really provides a negative.
Eric Ten Hag came as a disciple of Pep Guardiola. So I was imagining that we were going to see what we saw at Ajax, lots of possession, pass the ball to death. Honestly, the last 2 weeks, what I've seen against Barcelona and what I saw in that final on Sunday was, for me, what I think Manchester United was under Sir Alex Ferguson. That we'd win games in different ways. It'd be electric, it could be counter-attacking, it could be resilient, it could be defensive, it could be deep, it could be compact, it could be aggressive, it could be nasty, like Martinez and Casemiro were at times on Sunday. I never want him to change the way in which we've played in this last couple of weeks. I don't want him to sort of have this vision of, of course you play against some teams, you can play great football, maybe one of the lower teams in the Premier League at home, and you get all that ball and it'll just naturally happen. But I have no aspiration whatsoever as a United fan to see anything other than what I've watched in this last couple of weeks, which is fight, spirit, toughness, speed of attacking, electricity on the pitch, that connection with the fans where you can see that there's that feeling there. To me, that is United. I don't expect or want any more, and I hope that we don't go down the route of bringing in more players in the summer that take us down more of a possession path. I like the idea of like Fred, Fernandes, Casemiro in midfield, the types of players that they are, the fact that they're just all over the place. There's an element of that in the Barcelona game. They took risks. They could have lost goals against Barcelona.
Like, in my opinion, the manager who comes in should be allowed to implement things the way he wants to implement it. So the way he sees football is the way he should implement it to the team. And that means that if certain players within the side cannot perform let's say the attribute, don't have the attributes or can't perform exactly how the manager is wanting them to perform on the pitch, they shouldn't be there, and the manager should be allowed to bring in the players that can actually do what he's asking for. So this is where I go back to the summer and I say Manchester United signed Casemiro, not Eric Ten Hag, because Ten Hag wanted De Jong. We weren't able to make that deal happen. That deal, if it happened, would have been a central part to the way we would have changed the way we would have played football, because it would have been a lot more of a possession-based style, because you have a deep line playmaker who can dictate play. And this is what we need in those big games. In the moments when Liverpool are on top and they're doing the heavy metal thing that they've been doing for the last 7 years on the clock, right? You need somebody in that midfield who is composed, that can take the ball on the half turn, look up, and see what's going on around him. If he can't see anybody that's going on around him, he keeps the ball. He recycles it. Do you know what I mean? And we don't have that. We've not had that for a very long time. Let me ask you something. When was the last time we actually performed really well at Anfield? Juan Mata. Remember Wanfield? When we won that game, what was it, 2-1 or 3-1? And that was under LVG. LVG rocked up to Anfield and we had 62% possession. So that is the way I would like to see Manchester United play, because we have to move forward into a modern era of football. Long gone are the days where we could play this fast attacking, free-flowing, counter-attacking style of football, transitional play. Because at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. And we were saying this under the previous manager. He was playing this type of United way style of football for the last 3 years. It didn't take us anywhere, because it's not modern. It's not the new style of football where we could hybrid and you can have a very high press, high intensity type of game, but also be able to switch it at points where you need to slow the game down and keep the ball. And then also, progress the ball forward and penetrate in behind by playing a possession style of football. Now, those comments that Gary Neville made, like, it's so bad that he's the voice of a lot of the supporters. A lot of supporters will look to him and say, yeah, he's saying the right things, but he's not saying the right things, because we've hounded out managers over the last few years because of this whole obsession with the United style of play. And we've not allowed them to actually complete the jobs that they've got. Now, you can say what you want about the choice in managers that we've brought in. The David Moyes, the Mourinho, the LVG, even the Solskjaer. You can say what you want about any of them, right? None of them have really been able to implement things the way they want to implement. And that could be because of the ownership. That could be because of conflict within the actual coaching staff, because Even if you go back to the Ollie days, Ollie and Phelan wanted to play football this type of way. Carrick and McKenna wanted to play football another type of way, and so there was a conflict there. Like, do you know what I mean? And then when you look at LVG, you could see what he wanted to implement, but we only got to 2/3 of the actual process. He got sacked after 2 years. So who was to say that if he had another transfer window and was able to bring in the players that he wanted to bring in, that we could have seen the end of that process and how it would have actually become maybe potentially fruitful. You know, you look at the Mourinho one and it's like, we know what he wants to play. He wants a solid base at the back. You didn't bring him the centre backs that he wanted. You didn't bring in the midfielders that he wanted. And so, you know, it all kind of fell apart. Like, we have been hounding out managers because they're not playing this United style of play. And then when it gets to the point where the managers have maxed out and done everything they need to do, then you want him out. Like, Ten Hag should be allowed to take us forward into the modern game of football in the way that he wants to do it. So having a creative or deep lying playmaker next to somebody that breaks up play is perfectly fine, but he has to be allowed to do that. Now, I understand that the ownership situation has to change in order for that to actually happen properly, in my opinion, because we need to have, no, I want to say financial constraints that will stop the manager from doing what he wants to do. But then at the same time, he also needs to have the right level of expertise around him in the footballing operation to be able to implement what he needs to implement on the pitch. But look, I mean, I'm just going to leave that there as like a bit of a quick breakdown in terms of how we need to move forward. Let me know your comments on that. Give me your thoughts on the Liverpool game and the result within that. And also give me your thoughts in terms of how we need to move forward. Because in my opinion, we need to be able to do better in those kind of bigger games. It needs to be a lot more possession-based as opposed to it being transitional. But, you know, it is what it is. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts is surrounding all of that. And look, I'm going to sign off right now. Make sure you stay tuned for some more United State of Mind. We're going to try and make it a weekly thing after every single game or every single type of event or whatnot. But make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well if you're new. Hit the notification bell, follow the socials down below, and I'm out, people. Peace.